Okay, let's just dive right into this. I want you to take a quick second and look really closely at your own life. You're a modern person living in a fast paced world, right? And because of that, you probably carry this familiar, heavy feeling in your chest. You call it anxiety. You probably think it's a completely modern disease, like a glitch in your system caused by a world that just moves entirely too fast for your heart to keep up. But today, in this explainer, we're going to reframe that completely. We're going on a journey into your own mind and into your deep history to uncover the ancient origin of your modern anxiety. So let's start with an undeniable modern truth. The data tells us you check your phone roughly 96 times a day. Just picture yourself sitting in a room, staring at a glowing screen. 96 times a day, you're pulling that device right out of your pocket. But, what are we actually searching for? You know the feeling, you're obsessively hunting for that large, red notification bubble. You're looking for a missed call, maybe a text or a breaking headline. And I really want you to notice how you feel a literal hum of dread in your stomach when that screen just stays dark. Because whether we admit it or not, we have this frantic, almost subconscious thought that everything changes with just one single notification. One email could completely change your career. One text message could change your relationship. You feel this intense pressure, you label it anxiety, and you just assume it's a broken reaction to modern technology. Now, this actually highlights a massive misconception we all seem to share. We love to romanticize the past, right? We think our ancient ancestors just lived in this state of primal, uninterrupted peace, completely unburdened by the weight of a mortgage or the relentless pressure of a social media feed. We just assume they were totally relaxed. Which brings us to the absolute key to everything we're unpacking today. What did you check before there was actually anything to check? If you didn't have a glowing rectangle in your pocket, what was your brain desperately scanning the horizon for? Think about the last 300,000 years. For practically all of human history, your ancestors navigated the exact same landscape of fear that you do today. Your digital inbox? Come on, it's only existed for a fraction of that timeline. Just sit with the sheer weight of 300 millennia for a second. For a whopping 99.95% of human history, you weren't looking down at a pocket screen. You checked the rustle of tall grass. You checked the shifting shadows just beyond the firelight. The tightness you feel in your chest right now, it's not a new glitch at all. It is literally the oldest survival tool in your biological kit. Sure, the surface details look completely different now. A sharp blue suit today versus an animal wrap on the savannah thousands of years ago. But your biological imperative, it's absolutely identical. Your main job is to stay alive. Your environment changed completely, but your nervous system is exactly the same. Let's actually look at the evidence here. Over at Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, researchers found the remains of the earliest known Homo sapiens, dating back exactly 300 millennia. And the science shows these ancient people had brains almost identical to yours. To them, anxiety definitely wasn't some disorder. It was a built-in alarm system. And this brings us to a really brilliant concept from evolutionary medicine pioneer, Dr. Randolph Nesse. He calls it the smoke detector principle. I want you to imagine your brain holding a loud red alarm bell right inside of it. This alarm was built, tested, and fine-tuned by hundreds of thousands of years of pure survival. Think about how the actual smoke detector in your kitchen works. It is literally designed to be hyper-oversensitive. It's going to scream at you when you just burn a piece of toast. Why? Because it is infinitely better to deal with a false alarm over burnt toast than to accidentally sleep through a real house fire. Out in the wild, your brain would so much rather you be completely terrified of a shadow that just turns out to be a harmless bush than have you feel totally calm and relaxed near a shadow that actually turns out to be a deadly leopard. False alarms keep you alive. Being overly chill, well, that gets you eaten. Think about your daily routine back in the ancient world. Obviously, your ancestors didn't have push notifications buzzing in their pockets, but they were constantly checking signs. They'd track the flight of birds to predict incoming storms. They'd scan the horizon for the smoke of a rival tribe. They checked the perimeter of their camp for predator tracks. The act of checking is this deeply ancient, hardwired reflex. The savannah has become a screen. Actually, just let that sink in for a second. You really haven't stopped checking the perimeter. You're still doing it 96 times a day. You've simply replaced the physical perimeter of an incredibly dangerous prehistoric camp with the digital perimeter of your modern life. And some really fascinating research completely backs this up. Dr. Curtis Marine and his team at Pinnacle Point studied how early humans survived these extreme climate shifts during the Pleistocene. And what they found is that our ancestors thrived specifically by being hyper aware of their environment, obsessively mapping tides and timing animal movements. But notice the massive shift in context here. Today, we call this hyper-awareness hypervigilance. Back in a cliffside cave, this hypervigilance was a literal superpower that kept your bloodline going. But take that exact same superpower, put it inside a modern office with fluorescent lights and nonstop emails, and suddenly it becomes a totally exhausting burden. Now, looking at Dr. Jean Twenge's research, we see this dramatic rise in anxiety among the first generation to grow up with smartphones. And yeah, it's super easy to picture yourself sad under a dark rain cloud and just blame the phone. But the technology is really just the medium. It's not the actual root cause of the feeling itself. We really have to understand the underlying mechanism at play, our deep social drive for safety. See, in the ancient world, being left out of your group wasn't just, sad. It was a literal death sentence. If the tribe moved on without you, you died. That is exactly why getting a like on a photo feels like a vital hit of safety, and why your brain interprets social rejection online as actual physical danger. If you trace it back, the physical gesture is exactly the same today. When you're lying in bed, bathed in that lavender gray modern city glow, mindlessly scrolling your feed at 2 a.m., you aren't just wasting time. You are playing the ancient role of the sentry on the night watch. You're scanning for threats, making absolutely sure your place in the tribe is still secure. And this reveals the completely counterintuitive truth of our modern lives. We aren't actually more anxious than our ancestors were. We are just anxious about things that can't be resolved by fighting or running away. When an ancient leopard appeared, the anxiety ended in minutes. You either escaped or, well, you didn't. But today, when a notification appears, the anxiety lingers endlessly because the modern leopard never actually arrives to resolve the fear. Which brings us to our final and honestly perhaps the most important question. The next time you feel that heavy weight of the world buzzing in your pocket, I want you to remember that you are carrying 300,000 years of pure evolutionary success. Is your anxiety really a sign that you're broken, or is it the absolute ultimate sign that you are a survivor? You check your phone 96 times a day because you are still scanning the tall grass for the movement of the world. Just think about that the next time your screen lights up.